Welcome back to another episode of Travel Chat, where I use my super ridiculously long commute to work to tell you about how I use law of attraction in my hi Diane how I use law of attraction in my daily life, and how I am navigating through my crazy schedule and motherhood and work and life in general and building a business. And the show kind of started out from epiphanies that I was having. So what I do now is I will... Oh, you're waiting. I know I'm late. Okay, I am running late today. So I'm sorry. In the comments, Diane said that she was waiting for me because I usually come on at 7:45-ish, which the goal was 7:30-ish, but it became 7:45. Today is 8 o'clock because I am running late. It's just, yeah, it's that kind of day. It's not time's fault. It's my fault. So I started talking about epiphanies because I would be driving to work and there would be something on my heart, and so I started talking it out, thinking it out, and I'd have these epiphanies every single day. And so I was like, let me turn the camera on these, because there is no way I'm going back to write a blog post in the non-existent moments that I'm able to sit down and write at a computer. So it started becoming a video blog. So here we are. So true to form, I've got something new. So yesterday, what happened was, I got the idea. How did this even happen? I don't even know. I got the idea that I needed to define my core values. And it kind of started out as defining my core values for my company, but then it evolved into my core values for myself, because obviously I am the only person in my company, and right now it's a brand new entity, and whatever Bold World Planners is what Fran is in real life. Like that, it is one and the same. So I know how it happened. Donald Miller, I got an email, one of those automated emails. I'm on his email list for Donald Miller, the guy who wrote building a story brand or something like that. And it was about all of the members on your team need to understand and know your core values, and they need to be short, and they need to be easy to remember, not this long mission statement, written 17 different ways. So it caused me to start thinking, which is great. You start with a question, you start thinking about it, it really goes throughout your day. Even when you're not thinking about it, it's still, your mind is processing it in that deep part that's not fully conscious to you. And then when you go back to it, you have all these answers. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that I heard, I got the email and I listened to it. He sends emails in these little 5-minute videos, and I listened to it and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then later on my drive home, it was just an outpouring of all these ideas of what my core values should be. So enough of the chitter chatter. I'm going to tell you exactly what I came up with. And I'll also tell you why I think you should do this too, because it's really cool. So, after maybe a couple revisions, this is what I've come up with as my 3 core values. And make sure that you have 3 core values. You don't need a ton, just 3 short, simple core values. My first one is that I'm gonna put it like this. Number 1, be helpful. Number 2, have fun. Sorry, I got distracted there. I am driving. I'm trying not to be a distracted driver. And number 3, I knew this was going to happen. It's the 7 dwarf syndrome. It is the 7 dwarf syndrome. I was like, before I came on, I was putting on my makeup, and I was like, you're not going to forget the third one, obviously, because they're easy. They're all super easy. So, but I know this whole thing, if you try to name all 7 dwarfs, you're going to get to 5 or 6, and then you're going to forget the last one. But anyway, so number 1 is be helpful. Number 2 is have fun. And number 3 is keep it simple. Those are the 3 core values that I came up with for myself, and also as an extension of that for my business. And so the reason that having core values will completely transform and simplify your life is that when you have, and we all have them, so we all have core values. We may not have written them down, and we may not have verbalized them or put them in short statements like that 1, 2, and 3, but we all have core values. So what happens is throughout our day, we're bombarded with options and decisions and choices, and we filter them all through our core values. So if somebody asks us if you want this or if you want that, we automatically filter those through our core values. But if we don't have them defined, it may take a little longer to make a decision. So if you have your core values defined as 3 short, sweet, to the point statements, what you end up doing is clarifying your entire life. It's like the difference between walking around with dirty spectacles on versus cleaning your glasses, putting them back on and going, oh, okay, this is, it's just so much clarity. Instead of, if you consider the spots on your glasses as like distractions, and you wonder, you have to rethink every decision and really, really, really think about decisions and weigh the pros and the cons and pray about it and look at all the options and look at it from every angle and ask 15 people that you know what they think too. That's because your core values are not very defined. So once I defined my core values, everything became clear. I mean, things started popping up into my mind, and I was like, oh yeah, that's easy. It's an easy choice. Because if my core values are to be helpful, keep it simple, and have fun, I can filter every decision through those 3 ideas, or one of those 3 ideas, as the case may be. So let me tell you, I'll give you an example straight away. Instagram. I got onto Instagram years ago, way before my kids were born. I got onto Instagram before anybody in my family knew Instagram existed. And I got on there to connect with the natural hair community and to get to know other people who were, growing out their hair curly and all this stuff. So it's a whole big thing. It's a whole thing. And it was awesome, right? I had fun with it. I posted pictures. I looked at other people's pictures. I made friends who are still friends today. Like, I was all about it. I was posting selfies every single day, and it was almost a diary for me. I would post a picture of my hair, and in a caption for myself, I would write down what I use, what products I use, and what method I use to get my hair to look that way, so that I could always go back and go, okay, this is when I was using this product. It worked really well. Let me try that again. If you scroll all the way down to the beginning of my Instagram feed on Fran in Real Life, you will see all these hair pictures I'm talking about. It was like a year, maybe a year and a half of hair pictures. Then my family found me on there, and I just stopped using it because it wasn't that personal space anymore. I started getting followed by like people from high school and family and friends and people I knew, and it wasn't like my natural hair space anymore, so I just left it alone. But I went away, and then I think, I was posting some pregnancy pictures on there, and then after the kids were born, we unplugged from the grid completely, and so there's nothing there again until, maybe 2017 or 2018. But the point is, I was having fun with Instagram. I was having fun with it. Now, Instagram is different for me, and it's occasionally stressful. So sometimes I have fun with it and I'll post a lot, and then sometimes I'm so stressed out because I have to watch the numbers, and it's a business account, and I have to make my grid look pretty, and I should post dark light and action calm type pictures. And so it's like it takes a lot of my energy and time to curate the content that I put on there. And not to mention the captions. OMG, the captions are like work. The hashtags are work. Back in the day when I was having pure fun with Instagram, like I said, my caption was easy. It was like, what's in my hair right now? What day? Like, you can have your hair for like 10 days the same style. And so I'd post like, this is day 5 of this style. and this is what it looks like. And it was reference, right? It was helpful. So, and I wasn't trying to grow it all the time. I wasn't focused on that. So it was fun for me. So now I have 3 Instagram accounts. I actually only use 2 of the Instagram accounts. One is for the business, the other one is for me, and I'm trying to manage them both, and it's frustrating to me, and it's complicated, right? So I feel frustrated by it. So clearly I'm not keeping it simple, right? Which is one of my core values, to keep it simple. And because my other core value is to have fun, at the times when I'm not having fun with Instagram, I know that it's because it's going against my core value of having fun, right? And then my other core value of be helpful, I actually do feel like I'm helpful there. I take time to put something inspirational. I take time to write down reasons that people need a budget, or reasons that whatever it is. I take the time to try to be helpful. I don't, write frivolous things there. Like it's very thoughtful, my captions and all that. So that's how it filters through my core values. So this was the epiphany I had yesterday. I have to let go of Instagram, not the entire thing, but for sure, my business account, I am not going to touch it because it's too much for me. It's not simple and it's not fun. I've tried a lot of different things lately to make it more simple for myself. I didn't realize that's what I was doing because I just defined my core values yesterday. But lately, when I've been moving things and trying different formats, I realize now that what I was actually doing was trying to simplify it, trying to simplify the process. And it's not working. It's worse now than it was before. When I scroll back down through my grid, the time when I was really focusing on making the grid a certain way, it's actually beautiful. And now it's just a jumbled mess. The colors don't match. Something's red, something's pink, which I think is hideous together. Some things are blue, some things are green. I mean, it's a hot mess. And, when you look at and I know scrolling is a sin, don't scroll, but when you look at other people's feeds and the way it's curated, it's like, everything in my life is not pink and gold. I'm sorry. Everything in my life is not pink and gold. And I don't know how everything in other people's lives can be all the same color. Like it's yellow and it's white, or it's pink and it's gold. Like you always have clothes on that are pink, and you always have some kind of gold paper clip somewhere in your life at all times. And I'm like, how is that even possible? My life is so super colorful. Even with a filter, even if I put a filter on all my pictures, that probably will make it worse, because it's just, and I love color, and that's the thing that gets me too. I love color, but I don't just love primary colors. I love all the colors. And so if you scroll back through my feed, I used to, I would write quotes in blue, then I wrote them in red, and I wrote them in, what's that color? It's like a plum color. And it's just, it always changes because I love color. So I'm wondering, how's that going to work out? I don't know. My brand colors are blue and gold and fuchsia because of my lipstick. And so I'm just like, if I try to stick to blue and gold and fuchsia, that's probably not going to work either, because my life is not all blue and gold and fuchsia. So as you can see, this is an issue that if I'm not keeping it simple, if I'm not having fun with it, it's going to frustrate me, and I don't want to be frustrated, because frustration will alter my point of attraction. And if my point of attraction is altered, then nothing matters. If I'm out of alignment with who I am and who I'm supposed to be, then nothing is going to get done. The universe is going to sit back and, bring me things that I'm not wanting out of frustration, and I'll be kind of constantly fighting this uphill battle. If you're fighting an uphill battle in your life, it's because you're not going with the direction that is the path of least resistance. Meaning, it's the difference between driving in the grass or driving in Tennessee, which has the best, perfectly smooth highways. I don't know where that came from. But seriously, yes, Tennessee has the best, perfectly paved highways I've ever driven on. And it's just so smooth and quiet. And so that's the difference between like driving in Ghana, where the roads have potholes that you have to dip around and just driving on a nice, perfectly smooth paved road. And so when you know the difference, you realize how much easier your life would be if you just take the path of least resistance. So right now, Instagram is not the path of least resistance for me. So I'm going to let my business account be quiet for a while I try to figure out how to make my friend in real life account the easiest it can possibly be and the most fun I could possibly have. And at this point, it's just day one. I have no idea how to do that, and I'm not worried about it because I'm sure just the fact that I thought about it, the universe will bring me some ideas or some help. So another thing, define your core values. Just have 3. Keep them simple. It will help you to make decisions really quickly. So be helpful. This comes into play not only if I'm doing something in business or in life, but also even if I'm just in my interpersonal conversation. If I'm talking to somebody or if I'm talking about something, am I being helpful or not? Because if I'm not being helpful, then I don't need to be talking. I have this problem a lot, and it's partially environmental, kind of way I grew up, but if I'm taking 100% responsibility for my life, I can't blame anything about my personality on anyone else because everything is changeable, and this is one thing that I'm changing. But I can't speak negatively to someone or about something or someone and still be helpful. Like, that's not helpful. The best thing I could do, even if someone asks for feedback, is to point out the ways that things could be better or point out the things that were really helpful. That's it. There's no need to go down a negative path. Like, that's not helpful, I don't think. I mean, if somebody was critiquing me, if I even asked for critique, hey, help me with this, and they weren't telling me anything I can improve on, they were just saying this sucks and that's horrible and this didn't work and that's not helpful. That's not helpful at all. So that's one of my, these all came to me, but then after these 3 things came to me, I was like, oh, this is how that works in this part of my life, and that's how this works in this part of my life. And then on the career front, be helpful. In Story Brand, they talk about being the guide. Like, my money story, I'm like the hero of my money story because I figured something out, I made it work, I got out of debt, we're building wealth. Like, I'm a hero of that story, but that's not helpful to anyone else. My story is not helpful to you. My story is my story. But if I can take my story and take the parts of it out of it that can help someone else, then I can be helpful in using my story to help other people. I'm listening to a book right now. I didn't even plan to say this because I think I have still 5 hours left in this book. I'm listening to the book by Kate Northrup called Money, A Love Story. And I have decided that I'm probably going to return the book. Maybe not. I probably won't. I don't like returning things. That's just my personality. I don't like returning things unless it's really, really horrible and I can't even get through it. There are a few good nuggets from this book, which is the reason I won't return it. But I'm not enjoying reading the book because she's talking a lot about her story. It should be called My Mother and I, A Love Story or something like that, because she's just talking about her story, her journey, and it's her book, so obviously she would be doing that. But I thought it'd be more about money, and I'm making this course called Cash BFF, how to make cash your best friend forever. And I thought, oh wow, this will help me feel confident in the information that I've given in the course. Well, it's not. It's all about her life. It's all about her story. It's all about her triumph over $20,000 in debt, which is a lot of debt, but still I'm just like, okay, great, lady, get to the point. How'd you do it, And, give me the woo-woo stuff. I don't want to hear about you and your mom. And so I almost didn't like the book, but I'm sticking with it because she did recently have some nugget that I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting. And I was actually listening to this book when I got a sale yesterday on Etsy. It was amazing. She was doing this self-love exercise, and I was driving, but I was doing it out loud. And really, the most power is if you write it down. But I was doing it out loud, and ka-ching, I got the sale on Etsy, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Like, I did feel a shift before I got the sale. So what she had me doing actually was making a difference in my vibration, and I attracted a sale. That's how I would translate that to someone who actually knew what the heck I was talking about with law of attraction. But the point is, yes, the point is, her story is just like her story. Like, it doesn't suck me in. Like, her story is probably a lot similar to my story, but the way that she's telling it about, like, I did this and I did that and I did this, then I'm just going, okay, good, congratulations, good for you. You know, it's not like I'm going, oh wow, I could probably do that too. It's not. So it's her book. So anyway, it's not like she's giving a workshop and she's not helpful. It's her book and it is helpful. But when my core value is be helpful, I am the guide. I'm not the hero of the story. I'm the guide. I'm the person I'm like Dave Ramsey. This is who I want to be, okay, guys? I know this is crazy. Lisa Nichols says, don't say I'm the next Oprah because I can't be the next Oprah. Well, that's all fine and good for Lisa Nichols. For me, I want to be the Dave Ramsey. If Dave Ramsey and Abraham Hicks had a baby together and it turned out to be a black girl with curly hair, I want to be that. Like, that is my entire life. Like, Dave Ramsey and Abraham Hicks. Because those are the two things that changed my life with regards to money. Dave Ramsey's baby steps are phenomenal. Like, he should get a freaking Nobel Prize. He should get a Nobel Prize in economics, in personal finance. I don't know if that exists, but if it exists, he should get one. Because those baby steps are so revolutionary. And this goes to another of my core values. Keep it simple. The baby steps are outlined in such a way that I never have expenses. Okay. I mean, you know, it's just simple. It was like, all right, how much do you need to live per month? Just those bills. Multiply that by 3. Multiply that by 6. That's all you need. Save up that amount. So that's what we started to do. But I wanted to save up for a year, which probably I don't need to. But because I'm starting a business, I want to save up for a year. So follow the steps. Don't worry about college fund. Don't worry about retirement. Don't worry about paying off your house. Just work the baby steps. Simple. And that's why it meshes so well with my core values. Abraham Hicks is the same way. The way that Esther lines out how to manifest has made me the most powerful manifester that I know, which I'm the only manifester that I know in real life. But it's like, step 1, do this. Step 2, this is out of your hands. Step 3, do this. Step 4 is this, and step 5 is that, and you're good. Like, it's so simple, and it's sort of a complicated idea, but she makes it so simple that it works. So that is who I am, right? And so the idea of be helpful means that, yes, I've had this huge thing happen, and I've walked through this fire and I'm on the other side of it. But the story is not all about me. The story is about the other people. Who can I serve? How can I use this experience to serve someone else? That's be helpful. This should not be a surprise because I'm a medical doctor. I've been a doctor for like 15 years. Actually, my 15-year anniversary is coming up, which is crazy. Is it anniversary? Is that what you call it? Reunion? Whatever it is. But I've been a doctor for 15 years, and I went into medicine to help people. You know, that's why I became a doctor, to help people. So be helpful. It makes sense now. In hindsight, I'm like, oh, well, that's why I'm here. Now I'm not helping anyone, which is probably why I now feel unfulfilled in my career. There was a time when I very first started when I felt fulfilled because I thought that I was going to be helping people. But once you get into the industry and you realize, okay, I'm not actually helping anyone, that's when I started to feel discontent and very fatigued. You feel fatigued in a job if you're not living by your core values. So that should make sense. If you define just 3 things, if you define them, you can filter any decision through that. Anybody can come to you, like with if you're building a business and there's some tech options that you have, and they come to you and say, hey, you need to, even a course, like, oh, you need to get this course. We're going to teach you how to do this, this, and this, and this is how you get to, and this is what you do. Well, is it simple? Because if it's not simple, it's not for me. You know, if it's this complicated thing that I have to build, Like WordPress, OMG, I spent 3 months wasting my time with WordPress. I got Bluehost, I got WordPress. I could not make it work. It was not simple. It was extremely complicated and frustrating. And it almost like tanked my entire, all my goals. It was so bad. And I ended up switching over to Wix. There was a Wix commercial that popped up on YouTube when I was listening to Abraham Hicks. And it was showing you how simple it is. So in their advertisement, they're like, this is simple. And so not even knowing that being simple is keeping it simple is one of my core values, because I'm not simple, I automatically gravitated to it. I didn't even realize that keeping it simple was one of my core values. But when they said, this is simple, and I had this horrible experience with WordPress, it was like, oh, this is what I need. And I got it, and it's awesome. My Wix website is so easy to manage and easy to use, and I love it. So that's how your core values can really help you inform decisions, make quick, snappy, fast decisions in your life and business and relationships. So let me think. I'm trying to think if I had another epiphany in the last 24 hours related to my core values. Have fun. I mentioned that. Oh yes, so here's one thing. This is kind of controversial. So one day I'm going to do, not one day, probably in a week, I'm going to do a whole series on the things I learned in church that were detrimental to my life. And that's probably the way I'm going to put it, because that's the way I feel. There were a lot of things that I learned in church that have caused me to behave in a way that has held me from being in alignment. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I know it now. And I was always seeking truth and seeking the enlightenment that I have now. But I was always asking questions and not getting the answers that felt right in my gut. And, seeking clarity on things that were not clear. They were very muddy. And once again, keep it simple. It wasn't simple. It's simple now. But the things I learned in church really kind of messed me up in life. We're about to get this intense sunlight right here again. And one thing about that is have fun. So, God is love, right? And everything that you do, everything that you are, you should carry the happiness with you. And regardless of the outside experience, you should still be able to be happy within. And you should not do things that you don't want to do. You shouldn't. Like that's going to cut you off from alignment, because if you don't feel right doing it, obviously you're not on the path following exactly behind the mother ship, because if you were, you would feel joy. So sometimes I go to church and I do not feel joy. Like sometimes I feel angry. Sometimes I feel frustrated. Sometimes I feel confused. And I still have to go to church, even though it doesn't make me feel good. Like I don't feel good doing it. Sometimes I do, but a lot of times I just want to get up and walk out. And sometimes I do. I have gotten up and walked out before. And I think by telling people, making people feel guilty for not going to church or for getting up and walking out when things are not meshing up or it doesn't feel good, or your kids are squirming and they hate it and you hate it too, but you have to sit through it. I don't think, that you should feel joy. And I don't think that God is dwelling in a place where he would make you feel, I can't speak for God, he's off an entire generation of people, so I don't know what he thinks. However, it doesn't mesh well with me to think that he would want me to be miserable, even if I'm sitting, especially if I'm sitting in church, because that doesn't bring you any kind of pure worship. Well, anyway, we've come to the end of another episode of Life Chat. So that is what I wanted to tell you for today. That's the epiphany in the last 24 hours of my life. I would love it if you would put in the comments today, tomorrow, whenever you think of it, your core values. What 3 short, simple, keep it sweet ideas kind of sum up who you are, even if it's who you want to be. Don't get too outlandish, but who you are, who you want to be, the best, the most drilled down part of yourself. Put it in the comments. Like, what are your 3 core values? I'll put mine down there too, so you can see them. So I am going into work. I'm about 5 minutes later than the meeting. Talk about having fun. And then I'm gonna make rounds and all that good stuff. So take care. Bye bye.